else is coming to fix this mess.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Pushing the limits on a beautiful Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Brian Krasenstein's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour because this story in Minnesota just seems to be getting crazier and crazier by the minute, it seems. And there's a lot of people that I've been talking to, a lot of social media accounts that I've been following. I put out the videos a few days ago about how this Nick Shirley character is just another right-wing grifter. And I figured what better person to talk about this than someone who's been on this story, a friend of mine who is part of the UnF America Tour. And I am very happy to have one of the largest streamers on the planet, Destiny, joining us to start the show on the Tuesday. Destiny, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Hope you had a good Christmas, by the way. It was good to see you out there in Phoenix last week. We all had a great time. You know, you've done a really good job at kind of exposing this guy, Nick Shirley. In fact, you had one of your listeners that took a picture outside one of those daycare centers, exposing him for showing up before the facility even opened. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Like, what are your thoughts on this story as a whole and how so many people on the right have gravitated to this video that I think has over 125 million views now, Destiny?
I mean, this is my take on things. And there are a few things that all of us should agree on, okay? We don't want fraud. We don't want people defrauding the government. We don't want people stealing taxpayer money. And we want good investigations to expose when this happens. When it does happen, we want the people that are caught to be held accountable with whatever the appropriate accountability means. So that might mean jail for some people. That might mean revocation of visas or whatever for other people, but that's fine. Just because you're black doesn't mean you get deported. Just because you're a Somali American doesn't mean you go back to Somalia. Just because there's a daycare that is not open when you go knock on the door doesn't mean there's fraud happening there. The issue when conservatives are being so performative about every single issue is it puts us off from actually having a conversation about any of the real stuff that's going on. You know, this whole recent video that this Nick guy made is just like the perfect encapsulation of the entire conservative movement, which is given the reins to do something, they're ineffective. So we can look at Doge, which was supposedly trying to find all this government fraud. You've got Elon Musk on Twitter now saying that, well, I think 20% of all this spending every year is actually fraudulent, up to $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion, and you couldn't find a single dollar in waste, fraud, and abuse. What does that say about you? And then instead, they are now blowing the lid on this huge amount of corruption, which is nothing. They found nothing. The guy that made the video was just going to close daycare centers. And then they're trying to tie that into, well, look at all this other fraud that happened. You mean the fraud that Biden's DOJ under Merrick Garland was prosecuting? Yeah, like it's Democrats doing the work, it's Republicans being performative, and it's us not talking about any real issues because they're just mad about the Epstein stuff or mad about Trump's, 50th failed meet with Putin or mad about Trump's, whatever else. It's just, it's so, I'm so over it all, man.
And Destiny, yeah, so am I. And Destiny, can you just speak to Merrick Garland a little bit? Because my understanding, they opened up investigations under the Biden administration back in 2022. They arrested a number of different people. Some of those people are still in jail right now. And this happened under the Joe Biden DOJ. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I don't think a lot of people are aware of this.
Well, my understanding, I keep messing up the name of this org, but there was an organization called, it was Feeding Our Future, I think, where there was a big investigation that was done. There was a lot of fraud that existed. You have, you've got a group of immigrants that come over, they speak a certain language, and so they can be pretty inclusive to themselves. So in the Somali community, there was, I want to say of like the 86 people indicted, I think like 60 of them were Somali Americans or whatever. Like this is a thing that happens. It's a real problem. And when it happens, we should find it and we should prosecute it. On the right, it can be because you want to find this fraud and abuse, so we're not wasting tax dollars. On the left, it could be because the Somali Americans that exist here, by and large, aren't criminals. They're not involved in this type of crime and corruption. So it looks bad. It reflects poorly on everybody. But I mean, like it was a huge amount of fraud that was happening in this organization. I think it was like $105 million, I think, related to one organization. They tried to bribe a juror for a 6-figure amount, which was just insane. But this was being actually investigated and actually prosecuted under the Biden DOJ. And they didn't need to post videos of random losers, in cop uniforms with taped signs on their back, knocking on doors at gas stations and 7-Elevens, asking irrelevant questions to people to performatively put on a show.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, Destiny, because obviously I use the term hypocrisy a lot when it comes to the right. I'm sure you remember a guy by the name of Philip S. Form, largest healthcare fraud scheme in American history, 1.3 billion. What did Donald Trump do? Commuted him. David Gentle, another one, 1.6 billion dollars in fraud, and Trump University and all these other things. Can you just talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of the right, just in general terms, that all of a sudden now they care about fraud? And I think a part of it is because these are immigrants. That's my personal opinion. They're not white. They're immigrants.
Yeah, they're brown immigrants. It's the important one because, conservatives might have things to say about Africans, but when it comes to South Africans, especially the white ones, they were very eager to open up our asylum processes and everything to them. I don't even talk about the hypocrisy thing anymore. I mean, like you have the Trump coin. There's like so much stuff that is just so outlandish. You've got Trump pardoning these people that have been convicted of so much fraud. Sometimes even getting them out of there's a type for the payment, it's not reimbursement, but there's a payment that you make to kind of make the
yeah.
what?
I'm trying to remember the word. I know exactly. Not retribution. Is it retribution? No,
there's a name. Someone will say it and I'll remember it. But yeah, like I mean, some of these guys even got off the hook for this paying restitution.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's like that. Like we're so far beyond the pale when it comes to hypocrisy in the Conservative Party that I can't even imagine what the arguments are going to be like. Next year. We're not next year yet, or in 2028 when conservatives are going to try to stand on any principles ever, because it's like you had so much fraud and stuff that was ignored or allowed or sometimes even encouraged by this administration, and you did nothing about it. And yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable to me how anybody can pretend to care at this point.
What do you make of people? Yeah, but like Elon Musk's and even JD Vance, who have tried to propel this kid, Nick Shirley, who obviously I agree with you. I think he's a complete fraud and no different than maybe a Laura Loomer or Candace Owens. But what do you make of somebody like an Elon Musk and our own vice president who are lifting this kid's profile? I mean, what would you say to that?
I mean, Vance does it because he's part of this faction, this weird techno, crypto, weirdo, probably racist faction in the White House. It has their own anti-immigrant agenda. Elon Musk himself sounds like a guy who graduated from a place called the Luring Center. So I don't take anything that guy says seriously about anything.
Funny.
Yeah, I mean, like these people they're just deeply unserious people. I cannot imagine how shameful it would be. You would have to torture me to get me to admit that there was $1.5 trillion annually of fraud in the federal government budget, and my organization that was given the keys to go and raid every single executive department found absolutely nothing. That's like a thing that you pull out of somebody after hours of brutal torture. Okay, that like there's no way that you would just willingly admit that on social media unless you so lack the wherewithal to understand how humiliating that must be. But these men feel no shame. So
yeah. Speaking of humiliating, I have to ask you, changing the subject here. I thought you've humiliated a lot of people, not your intention, but in debates because you're such a great debater. And Dinesh D'Souza was one a few weeks ago that you guys put out. Speaking of humiliation, like I'm just curious, after a debate like that where you absolutely annihilate this guy, do you talk to him afterwards? Does he speak with you on the phone? Are you guys on speaking terms? Does he want to do another debate with you? Because you've had a lot of debates like this where you just destroy some of these people. They're not smarter than you. They're not as informed, and they're not as good at debating clearly as you are. Like, how does that work after a debate like that? Do you even talk to somebody like that after? Or do they say, geez, I'm not debating you again? Like, has he spoken to you?
I mean, it really depends on the person. I think for a lot of these people, it's just kind of like a game. It's like a show, basically. And so sometimes like they go on and they do their song and dance, and then afterwards they're just it is what it is. I don't know. For a lot of people, it feels like politics is just a very unserious thing now. So like it's almost like asking for some people, like after you have your big WWF match, are you guys friends when you go back to the locker rooms, even though you just powerbomb this dude through the mat, or through this guy through a steel cage or whatever? And it's like, yeah, it's just for show. For me, it's not. I just get really upset. I remember the live show I did with Piers Morgan. The Dave Smith guy tried to shake my hand before the show, and I didn't even want to talk to him. And he was like, "Oh, what's your problem?" Whatever. I was like, "I think you're destroying my country. I hate you." And he felt really awkward after that. And I think he even felt awkward on the show because of that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of I guess politics being just like a performative sport game for people. I do think that there is some degree of showmanship that's acceptable, especially among politicians that have to work together, right? In Congress, you should be adversarial against your fellow congressmen, but at the end of the day, you guys have to come together to agree on legislation. But like in our realm, when people have gone so far beyond, what is real or true or factual, and everything is just a lie and fake, and I'm supposed to go and pretend like we're on the same footing or we're doing the same thing. I don't know. It drives me crazy. So for most of the people, I just hate them.
I tend to agree with you on that as well. I hate a lot of these people as well. I just think they're not good people, and they're two-faced in their phony destiny. I can't even begin to tell you how many people were so nice to me at AmFest. They credentialed me. They shook my hand. The Jack Posobics. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. And then they say just horrible, despicable things, but to your face, they're nice. Do you get any of that with these people on the right, where you meet some of these people and they say nasty things about you on social media? But then when they meet you, they're like completely different people, because I saw that a lot with my interactions last week.
Yeah, that's just super normal. Yeah, that people will, you just say whatever online, and then when they meet you in real life, they're like, "Oh, yeah, what's up? How's it? Good job." Yeah, I remember I said after the I did the one with the you're bringing the Krasensteins on. One of them might have even heard it next to me, where after we finished our show with it was Alex Jones. Glenn Greenwald was on the TV in the background like a super villain, and then there was that author from the Revolver all the way to the left. And I remember after we finished, Alex Jones, looked at me and he like. And he was like laughing with me. And he's like, "Oh, when you told me to, take your hand off my shoulder or whatever, that was really good TV. I like that, huh?" And I was like, I was so irritated, because it's just a game. It just feels like a game to everybody. Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, and we're talking about a lot of serious issues. I feel your passion. I'm the same way. And yeah, they see it as a game, playing with people's lives. I have to get your story about this on the record, because I'm not much of an Andrew Wilson fan. I know you've debated Andrew Wilson. You've debated Myron Gaines a bunch of times. I guess my first question is, what do you make of somebody like Myron Gaines, who clearly makes a living grifting by making horrible comments about black people, about Jewish people, just despicable. And then you have Andrew Wilson, and I guess they both don't come to our Un-F America Tour debate. You and Adam Mockler were supposed to debate them, and they had all these weird demands, right? I want to just ask you on the record about that whole situation, because they're blaming Z and the Un-F America Tour. They're blaming you. What do you have to say to that?
So the way this was originally presented to me, I think Z came to me with questions about the format, and apparently Andrew, I think, was initially requesting, they're saying 10, but I think it was a 12-minute opener. And this debate was going to be either 1 or 1.5 hours. And I'm like, we're not doing 12-minute openers. And I think I told Z, we're doing 3 minutes or we'll walk. We'll just get a different debate team. And so I think Andrew wouldn't agree on that. He also wouldn't agree on the topic, because I think he wanted the topic to be like, initially it was like the topic was going to be Trump is a fascist. And I was like, no, we're going to do something like Trump is more the most authoritarian president or something like that. Because if it's just a fascist, he's going to just debate the definition for an hour and a half.
Right.
And then he refused that topic too. And so I was like, it's not going to work. So we should just walk from this. And then I think Myron found out, or Andrew found out, one of them, they thought that it was going to be inside the actual Turning Point Conference Center. So then they were like, well, if we don't get tickets to the actual conference, we're not coming. And then I don't know where it fell apart somewhere at that, but I was never going to agree to a debate that had more than 3-minute openers, because if it's taking you if it's taking you 10 minutes to establish your opening point, that like, we're not defending theses here and for our PhDs. This is ridiculous.
Completely agree with you. Yeah, that's what I kind of heard went down as well. Andrew had some weird demands, and then Myron just kind of followed after that. What do you make of the fact that Myron is allowed at AmFest? He calls Z a video that went viral. I'm not going to repeat it. He used the C word. He called her a fat Jew. This is a woman who is also pregnant. And then Jack Posobiec takes a picture with Myron Gaines. And even if you didn't see the sweatshirt that he was wearing, you saw the images of it, mocking the Holocaust, basically. It's just despicable. And nobody from Turning Point makes a statement saying, hey, we're not allowing this guy in anymore. Or Jack Posobiec saying, I didn't know. Nothing. Not a statement from Jack Posobiec. What do you make of that?
It's totally expected from the conservative movement at this point. That's like the least surprising thing in the universe. Yeah. Yeah, especially Jack Posobiec. I mean, your standards, the bar is in hell for conservative character, or for conservative political positions that have any like foundation in moral thought or belief. Like, yeah, it's not surprising at all to me. They had a booth at APUSA, I think, that was like set up to emulate. It looked like the tent where Charlie got shot, where you could take like a picture. It's just like,
yeah,
Jesus,
that was. I did see that. It was right near one of the stages. It was absolutely sick. If they offered you a credential, what do you think would happen if you decided to? I'm not saying you would. If you walked in there, what do you think would happen?
Honestly, probably just most people would come up and ask to take pictures. Most like on the ground people just don't care that much. Yeah, I mean, even when I was walking to and from the event, there were people. They were like, "Oh, you're Destiny" or whatever. And yeah, I met one guy in the airport that called me the F slur. And was shouting at me, that I actually respected a lot. I actually took selfies on my phone with him, because I was like, most people don't have that energy in real life. And I thought that was funny, but he hated me. So props to that one guy in the airport. Yeah.
Is that Destiny? Is that weird for you? Like these days now, because you're so popular, like everywhere you go, people are recognizing you and asking you for pictures. And yeah, once in a while, I'm sure there's someone that's going to be a jerk. But is that weird for you? Have you gotten used to that yet?
No, I think I'm used to it. What can I say? I've been doing streaming for like 15, 16 years. So
yeah. Would you say you're more popular now than you ever have been because of your political commentary as well?
Maybe it waxes and wanes. I think probably at the height of the red pill stuff I was, and then at the after some of the Trump shootings I was. This last year I've been moving a little bit quieter, moving silently, so my ops can't see my moves. Insert whatever Zoomer slang that I got.
I mean, if somebody told you like 20 years ago that this is where you would be at in your career right now, would you have believed it?
Considering I think 20 years ago no, probably not.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of followers you have, it's pretty insane. Before I let you go, I did want to ask you about this meeting that Zelensky had with Donald Trump, and it just appears to me, Destiny, as though it's the same deal, right? Donald Trump and the Kremlin, they give Ukraine and Zelensky this deal that is great for Russia and terrible for Ukraine. Zelensky says no. Sends another deal to Putin. Putin says niet, and no concessions, nothing. And it's just a revolving meeting that happens over and over again. Did you see this coming, and where do you see this thing going?
I don't even care or would pay attention to any of it. This is like what, the 400 millionth meeting that Trump has had with Putin where nothing has come from it, and the 700 stupid demand that they've made to Ukraine that's totally one-sided, and the 50th time that Trump has walked away, surprised that he did. Like, I mean, yeah. What do you want me to say?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Based commentary from literally any of the other failed meetings that Trump has had, with Putin, and it'll probably fit here. Yeah.
True. All right. So for your fans out there, and I'm not asking you to give a location, but I'm just curious, like for New Year's Eve, what does Destiny do? Do you stay home? Do you live stream? Do you go out with friends? Like, I'm just curious, like, what do you do on a night like New Year's Eve, or is it just like any other night for you?
I probably just, I'll probably just stream. I'm not a holiday person much. I don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably go out with some friends, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm sure your listeners will appreciate that. Destiny, I always appreciate you coming on the show and taking the time, my friend. To you and your family, I hope you have a great New Year's Eve, my friend. Stay safe, and thanks for the time, brother. We'll talk to you in 2026.
Cool. I'll see you then. Good luck.
All right. Thanks, Destiny. Appreciate it. That's Destiny, everybody. One of the biggest streamers on the planet. That's why I asked him those questions, because like I see him at some of these events. And everyone's taking pictures with him. Everyone's getting autographs. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really, really done an unbelievable job with the following that he has. I kind of assumed he would give me the answers he did when it came to Nick Shirley. I agree with everything he said. And Brian Krasenstein, by the way, is going to be joining us here momentarily in just a few minutes. I just want to give people, and by the way, always appreciate it. Destiny's always great with time and coming on, and we appreciate him doing that. And I'm a fan for sure. I think Destiny is one of the best debaters around, extremely intelligent, extremely educated, extremely informed. And he's a good dude. He's a nice guy. I mean, I've seen what he's like, and he's very gracious with his time. He's very kind. And I think he's got a good heart. And, I don't say that about everybody that I agree with politically, but I certainly say that about Destiny. I think he's a really good guy, and he cares. I think that's a great characteristic to have. So we appreciate Destiny taking the time to join us. Brian Krasenstein is going to be joining us here in a few minutes. I want to give you guys a little bit of an update, and I'm going to be sharing some audio of this clown, Nick Shirley, and what a despicable human being he is and what a moron he is. I think he's extremely stupid. And I'll be playing some audio later on in the show that proves my point. Everything I said about this guy in this video the other day that went viral is true. We're learning that 2 of the daycares in his video are closed. The videos where he knocked on the door, 2 of those places are closed, and one was closed a long time ago. We're also learning the now infamous ABC Learning Center has been closed since last week. I told people on social media that it was closed. State regulators are on the record as saying they made visits to all of the others earlier this morning and yesterday, and they haven't found any problems that would warrant pausing payments to any of the centers. Hence, no fraud. And when Nick Shirley asked about rates, even though many of these services are subsidy-based, meaning families don't negotiate prices the way private customers do, that confusion is used somehow as evidence to Nick Shirley and the MAGA right. He also went to some of these home healthcare companies. There are no patients showing up at these home healthcare companies. But of course, he doesn't say that in the videos because he doesn't know, or he's lying. So Brian Krasenstein said this, who's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. And I want to read a tweet that he put out. Imagine for a moment if a random liberal YouTuber with a history of lies who supports an alleged pedo who happens to be in office right now, his name's Donald Trump, tried busting into daycares to film minor children without their parents or guardians present. Imagine that for a moment, what the right would be saying about that. Again, I use these, what if the left did this? What if the left did that all the time? Imagine that for a moment. Because Nick Shirley is all about Ukraine lies, and we're going to play that audio a little bit later on in the program, where he actually went to Ukraine and absolutely lied about what was going on there and totally misrepresented what's going on there. And I found it so reprehensible and so despicable, this Nick Shirley character, and we're going to get into that. But again, I go back to saying this. Donald Trump commuted Philip S. Form, the largest healthcare fraud scheme, $1.3 billion. David Gentle, $1.6 billion. That was also commuted. Trump University, they had a $25 billion settlement. But you know what? They don't want to talk about that stuff. And the guy that is going to be joining us right now, almost everybody in the MAGA world thought that they should lock him up and the FBI should have been knocking on his door. We're definitely going to get to that first before we get to this Nick Shirley story. And, you know, I've had his brother, Ed Krasenstein, on the show a number of times, and big fan of the Krasenstein brothers. I think they do great work and they're awesome. And Brian Krasenstein joins us right now on the program. Brian, I appreciate you being here, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I love your work, Brian. I've had your brother on plenty of times, and it's good to have you here. I really appreciate it. Before we get to this Nick Shirley story, which you've done a great job on, I want to talk to you about a tweet that you put out. I knew immediately when you put the tweet out last week, you were, using the same verbiage that Donald Trump used about Stephen Colbert. The tweet that you put out was, quote, "Trump is a dead man walking. America should put him to sleep now. It is the humanitarian thing to do." Again, the exact verbiage that Donald Trump used when it came to Colbert. Are you surprised at not only all the hate tweets you got, but you should go to jail, throw away the key, the FBI should be knocking on your door, when so many of these MAGA Republicans didn't even understand what you were doing?
No, I'm actually not surprised at all. I knew exactly what was going to happen when I made the tweet. And it was just to show how much hypocrisy fills MAGA. And I knew that people were going to be outraged by it. But I also knew that if I made the post within an hour of when Donald Trump posted it, so many of them wouldn't have seen what Donald Trump posted, and they would have jumped down my throat. And that's exactly what happened. And it went viral because they were so outraged. But little did they know that they're basically outraged over what Donald Trump said about Colbert.
It's insane. And for the record, the FBI hasn't contacted you, right? No authorities have contacted you since you put out that tweet, I would assume.
No, nobody's contacted me. I thought it was possible that somebody would, but nobody has. And I think it's because they did their research unlike some of MAGA did.
Well, your brother, if you recall, I had him on when your brother was not raided, but they showed up at his place, if you remember, and he had to go through that nonsense. And of course, nothing came about it. And I actually thought as well that the FBI was going to be knocking on your door as well. And then you would have had another story to tell.
Well, actually, it wasn't just Ed. I had a Secret Service come to my house about 3 weeks after that because of a post I made about Vladimir Putin, which was ridiculous. But we won't even get into that.
Yeah, it's just absolutely insane. What I am amazed at, kind of what you did, is very similar in some ways, right, at what Governor Newsom has done, where he takes Donald Trump's verbiage and uses the same similar verbiage. And then everybody's so upset at Gavin Newsom. Oh, he's the governor. This is beneath him. I can't believe he's using his platform for this. In a way, you did some of the same stuff that Gavin Newsom is doing.
Yeah, I think using hypocrisy is a really effective way to show people how ignorant or how biased they are without having to, just say it to their face. Like I had after making that post, I had I don't know, maybe 10, 12 different MAGA people messaged me, and it wasn't hate. It was like, yeah, I mean, you really got them. I saw what Trump posted. I can't defend this. And it worked. So it worked on some of these people. Of course, a few, right? Out of millions.
But Brian, when you explain or try to explain to these people, hey, I was just using the same language that the man who you support, the president of the United States, used. Don't you think, we should hold him to a higher standard? When you actually show the tweet and you show what is the average reaction you get from these MAGA Republicans when you do that?
Yeah. So they go down, they try to rationalize why it's different. And most of them would say things like, oh yeah, but it's a completely different context. Donald Trump was talking about a TV host. You were talking about the president of the United States and the American people. It's different. But Tim Pool did this too. Tim Pool, if you know Tim Pool, he did the same thing. He said that it was a completely out of context, totally different context, and you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
But then I took the entire passage and I just changed a few words, and I'm like, does that change it at all? Because I don't think it does. And he didn't respond. So they spin their wheels. They try to come up with excuses why what I said was any different than what Trump said. But ultimately, I mean, they didn't have much to go on.
Yeah. And I know Tim, I did his show a few weeks ago. I've done Tim Pool's show multiple times. I'll ask him about that. But they try to make the case, well, Trump was just talking about the entertainment side of him and taking down his show. First of all, why do they always need to put context and say, well, I think this is what Trump was trying to say? How many times, Brian, have we heard MAGA Republicans say, I think this is what he meant. I think this is what he was trying to say. Well, we can only go by the words that he uses, right?
Yeah, well, and Trump is very good, and maybe not in this case, but very good at being vague so that his supporters have wiggle room to say, oh, no, that's not what he means, but actually meaning what everybody knows he means, right?
Yeah.
So I think he's good at that, and MAGA, the base, has become very good at, pushing things aside, pretending that they didn't mean what they obviously meant. And it works because they don't want to admit that this guy is a horrible person, a loser, a fraud.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Speaking of fraud, let's talk a little bit about Nick Shirley. By the way, if you're just joining us, Brian Krasenstein on the line with us. Let's talk about this Nick Shirley video. You've been on top of this. I've been on top of it. It's unraveling, I think, for Nick Shirley and MAGA, but unfortunately, he's made a lot of money off of views. I think over 125 million people, maybe more now, have seen this video. What do you make of the fact now that local officials are saying that they don't see any evidence of any fraud that was taking place to this point in all those facilities that he went into? The fact that he goes into these facilities, some of these facilities were closed. Some of these facilities, he shows up a couple hours before they're even supposed to open. I mean, it really is insane how J.D. Vance and some of the biggest names on the right, even an Elon Musk, are pushing this narrative. What do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, he's lying by omission. And I pointed this out in my tweet. Like, he goes into all of these health. So besides the daycare, he goes into this building filled with home health care management companies and asks them for health care, and then pretends that since they can't offer him health care, they have to be fraudulent. But these home health care companies, it's not like it's a clinic. It's not a medical clinic. They're managing different people who offer home health care going into people's homes. And with the daycares, number one, we don't even know when these videos were taken. Was it during this Christmas holiday where basically most daycares closed when public schools are closed? Was it? I don't know. We don't know the hours. Many daycares are open only at night. Many are open only in the morning. Many shut down, right? Like, some of these offices could be shut down. Others might have just been management offices for a company that offers actual childcare centers all over the city. So we don't know this. It's a huge lack of context, and they use this to their advantage. They use it to push this narrative that all these Somali groups are committing fraud, even though there's no evidence of it.
Yeah, and the lack of evidence is what's mesmerizing to me. What do you make of the fact, and I use this term hypocrisy a lot. I was just talking to Destiny about this at the top of the show. What do you make of the fact that, a guy by the name of Philip S. Form, the largest healthcare fraud scheme in American history, $1.3 billion in fraud, and Donald Trump commuted sentence. David Gentile, $1.6 billion in fraud commuted. I can go into Trump University and many of these other scandals or fraud schemes within Donald Trump and his orbit. They didn't seem to have much of a problem with that, did they, Brian? But now all of a sudden they want to talk about fraud because alleged fraud, which it might deal with some brown people, Somalian immigrants in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way MAGA is, right? Like they look the other way. They turn a blind eye when Trump does something. They vote for him as president. He was literally found liable of hundreds of millions of dollars in fraud. His family ran charities where they misappropriated millions of dollars in funding that should have went to children, right? But that doesn't matter because they're not, whether it's their skin color, whether it's the fact that they're immigrants, that's what works, right? Anything that allows them to spread hate about immigrants, color, people of color, that's what they're after. And it's just, once again, hypocrisy at its finest. And it's just, this is what we've come to know MAGA as: hypocritical people who don't actually care about anything but themselves and Donald Trump.
I'm wondering, Brian, because you and your brother are so popular on social media, and it's like half the people are huge supporters of yours and love what you guys do, like myself. And then you have so many haters out there. And I try not to look at the comments, and I look at comments from some of my posts and some of your posts. And I see from many of these MAGA supporters, and it's not even worth mentioning really, but homophobic slurs and attacking somebody on looks and just no merit to what they're saying. You guys have been dealing with this for years. I'm wondering, do you even read these comments and these insults? Because it's like second grade insults from these people. And I feel like X particularly is a cesspool for that, where not only is it allowed to do this sort of stuff, but it's endorsed by people like Elon Musk.
Yeah, not only is it endorsed, but it actually helps people get more engagement, right? It's how they get amplified, is by, being trolls in different people's threads. But I used to pay a lot more attention to it. I still do read some of the comments just to, bicker back and forth or, present my argument, the ones that actually have substance to them. But for the most part, I try to ignore it. Don't feed the trolls. X is like nowhere else, right? Like you don't see this on other platforms. You see it a little bit, but nowhere nearly as much as you see it on X.
Yeah. And, it's interesting, Brian, because I was at AmFest last week and they actually credentialed me, and people that I've had pretty hardcore debates on Piers Morgan. I've debated, Jack Posobiec. I've debated, some pretty big names on the right, Andrew Wilson, but it's incredible. People like Jack and others, they're completely different in person. Like I was just telling Destiny about this. They'll shake my hand. They're very nice to me. And it's like we're best buddies. Michael Knowles is another guy that I smoked a cigar with, completely different than dealing with these people on a show like Piers Morgan. Do you feel like you ever get that when you go to some of these events and you get these well-known figures on the right? Are they nice to you, or do they treat you the way that you would assume that they would treat you?
I've had exactly the same experiences, like I'm not going to mention any names, but some pretty big people on the right, and they're super friendly. They act like, hey, we're like best buds. You want to go out and have a drink? And then you get on social media, and then when the outrage sells and the fighting, it actually gets some followers. That's when they turn and become these horrible people. So like, I was going to say, like the one thing that I always say is that Twitter or just social media in general, it doesn't represent reality. Most people actually get along in real life, but on social media, you think they're ready to, kill each other.
Yeah. I mean, what would you call those people? Just two-faced? Like what is a word that would use to describe somebody who says some of the most despicable things to you on social media? And then when you meet them in person, like you said, hey, let's go have a beer. Do you just call them phony? Do you call them two-faced? Is it all performative? Like, what do you call these people?
Yeah, I'd say like a two-faced grifter. They're angry and mean and hateful when it's going to make them money, right? Yeah, but when it's not, and they don't want to get in an actual physical fight, they're your best friend.
Yeah, completely agree. Brian, if the elections were held, in a few months, I think we could both agree on this. It would probably be J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. I think J.D. Vance probably would have somebody like a Marco Rubio as his VP. As far as what Gavin Newsom would do, I'm not sure. It could be an AOC. It could be a Pete Buttigieg. I'm just wondering, do you think that's the right plan moving forward for Democrats? Moving forward, do you think it should be somebody like Gavin Newsom? Who would you look at right now? I know we're still a ways away and a lot can happen between now and then, but what are your feelings right now?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Gavin Newsom right now is probably the best candidate for Democrats, not just because I think he appeals to independents a lot more than somebody like AOC would, but also because he seems to know how to fight back against, some of the lies and misrepresentations you have coming from the right. I think he's well seasoned in that, and he's doing a good job right now. As a vice president, like, I like Ro Khanna just because he's also appealing kind of to both sides, but I don't think that will happen because they're both from California. So I don't know who he would choose as his vice president. I don't know if he will for sure be, the nominee. But right now, I'd say he's by far in the lead.
Mark Kelly is another one that I think would be a great VP. I think he appeals to those that have religious faith too. So I agree. Why do you think? Obviously, you and your brother are extremely talented and good at what you do. Why is it? At least I feel like there are not enough of people like you. We're all sort of in the same orbit here, but I don't think we have enough voices on the left. To be honest with you, why do you think that is?
Well, so I think one reason the right has been, explosive on social media is because they're willing to, put their morals aside to make money. So I don't think many of these people on the right support all the things that they push out there. I think that they're doing so to make money. Now, they are probably more right-leaning, but they're not extreme right. The left, I don't think people on the left are willing to, spend their entire day putting content out like those on the right, because there's more money to be made on the right. There's more, more hatred. You can make money through hatred. Whereas on the left, you don't have that. Now, I've been a big proponent, yeah, you call people grifters who, use politics to make money. I call them grifters if they're going against their own morals to make money with politics. I think that we shouldn't treat people on the left who are making money in politics, as long as they're doing it morally, as, outsiders or people that shouldn't be paid attention to, because that's going to mean that we have less people on our side on social media to keep pushing forward our ideas, right? And I think the left does that. The left often criticizes each other within the party for doing things for money. And I think we had to get away from that, just because it's not going to be helpful, and it's allowing the right to take over social media.
I wanted to ask you, we've heard a lot of people on the right that say the left has a, anti-Semitic problem. And listen, maybe a small percentage of Democrats during those pro-Palestine, I'm not going to call them riots. All of them were not riots. I will call them protests. Maybe that might have been the case. But now I think it's infiltrated the right. The Nick Fuentes types, Goipers as they call them. I think it's a huge problem within the Republican Party right now. These are not lefties. These are not Democrats. Most of these people voted for Donald Trump. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
so I think it was like 70% of American Jews voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. So, I mean, Jewish people are far more represented with the Democratic Party than those than the right, right? But I do think that there's small fractions of people that are anti-Semitic on both sides. I think it's far worse on the right, far, far worse. The people on the left who they say are anti-Semitic aren't really anti-Semitic. They're just, pro kids not getting blown up in Gaza. I'm Jewish and I'm pro that, right? Like, I think that Israel has taken things way too far. Yep. The ones on the right are actually, Nazi-like people like Nick Fuentes, who says that they admired Hitler, or whatever he said about Hitler. That's definitely a problem. And I think that's going to destroy parts of the Republican Party and destroy their hopes in future elections. I think Nick Fuentes, I think there's a good portion of the conservative party that would vote for Nick Fuentes if he was 35 and he could run for president. I think 20 to 30% probably. And that could go up. And that never happened before. Nobody would have, embraced that guy. But for
Isn't
some
that
reason,
sad?
it's getting more and more extreme because they need to all appeal to MAGA. And many of them think the way we appeal to MAGA is through hate. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that.
That's really scary. Isn't that sad? 20 to 30%. Sadly, I think you're right. That's really sick. Last question for you, Brian. I wanted to ask, what is your biggest criticism of both parties right now? Let's start with the right. Your biggest criticism of Republicans, if you had to name one right now, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, on the right, you have this group of people that all they do is feed off of hate. They feed off of the social issues. They make, woke the worst thing since, Hitler, right? And then these people are not basing who they're voting on off of anything but that hate that they have for the other group. I think on the left, I wish that the left would fight more. And when I say fight, I don't mean physical. I mean push back more. I think there's plenty of room for that. I like what Gavin Newsom is doing. I know some people say it's a little childish, but I think that's what's necessary. You got to fight fire with fire. And right now the fire is just stupidity. But Gavin Newsom's able to do it in a way that's funny and also in a way that, points out facts. And we need more of that. The reason the Democratic Party is so lowly rated in some of these polls is because it's not because people don't like Democrats. It's because they're not fighting back enough against what Trump's doing.
No doubt. Brian, before I let you go, can you, I know there's a lot of people that listen to this show that are big fans of what you and your brother do, but for people out there that want to follow you, that want to follow, I believe your Substack and podcast and everything that you guys are doing, can you give out that information so people have it?
Yeah, you can go to krassencast.com. That's our Substack, just KRASSEN cast. Also, I'm on X. It's my last name. On TikTok, Facebook, all those social platforms. Just Google it. But yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, Brian, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on. Love what you and your brother do. Please keep up the great work, my friend. Keep up the fight, and look forward to hopefully having you on again in 2026. Have a wonderful new year to you and your family.
Thanks. You too. Keep it up.
Thanks, Brian. There you go, everybody. Brian Krassenstein. We've had his brother on several times. It's nice to have Brian on as well. I think they're great. I love what they do. They are absolutely phenomenal. And two guests that I have a lot of respect for. Of course, in the first segment, we had Destiny on, brilliant guy. And Brian Krassenstein, who is also extremely intelligent. And, I'm very lucky. I'll say this as we head into 2026. There's a lot of reasons why I'm very lucky. I get to do this for a living. I enjoy it, and I'm very grateful. But my Rolodex of people that I know, people that I call friends, people that are willing to do the show for the most part, anytime I text them. Two great guests today. Destiny, of course, and Brian Krassenstein. God, you want to talk about the followers, the combined following that these two guys I just had on? Millions and millions of people love what they do. So I'm very appreciative for that. And as I said, the Rolodex that I have. And going into 2026, sure, we'll have the regular guests like the Ron Filipowskis, the Midas Touch people that do this show every week. People like Adam Mockler, people like Destiny and the Krassenstein brothers, of course. But we are also going to have people on the right. Doug Berkwam, America's Voice, who did this show last week. People that I met at AmFest. It's why I go to these events, not only to get video and audio to post on my social media accounts and to play on the show, but also to get them on the program. People say to me, Brian, how can you shake hands with Jack Posobiec? How could you have a respectful conversation with him? Well, it's pretty simple. If I go up to him and call him a Klan member, or I say, call him a white supremacist, I don't think he's going to want to come on the show. But I am talking with his people, and we will be getting Jack Posobiec on the show in 2026. Same thing with Michael Knowles. I've been speaking with Michael Knowles and sending text messages to him. Michael Knowles is going to do the show in 2026. Yes, I'm not saying you have to kiss somebody's ass, but if you shake their hand and show them a little bit of respect to get them on the show, if that's what it takes, I'm going to do it. It doesn't change my feelings about them, but that's why I go to these events. A lot of people ask me, why do I go to these events? Why do I do these things? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's why. So we could get these guests to come on the program. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to reset some things. We're going to take a quick break. Boy, do I have some audio to play for you when we come back. You are not going to want to miss this. Nick Shirley, last year made a trip to Ukraine. You're not going to believe what he said. And then he went on a podcast and looked like the complete imbecile that he is. We have the proof. We are going to play you the video and the audio from that podcast, which proves everything that I've said about Nick Shirley. He is a right-wing grifting idiot, and he's actually dumber than I thought. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, dumber than I thought. We're going to play that for you coming up next. And of course, a little bit later on, after we play this audio, we are going to be taking your phone calls. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Here.
Website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Here's the deal. The country's a mess, and America's youth is stuck at the center of a tug-of-war between propaganda, billionaires, and political clowns who think TikTok is a national security threat, yet can't open their own email. But the real threat that keeps them up at night isn't TikTok. It's the power of the youth vote, and that's what the Unfuck America tour is after. We're traveling the country, hitting campuses and cities, exposing the right wing's playbook and calling out all the tricks they use to hook young people. We saw the youth vote shift in 2024, and if we don't reclaim that momentum now, we lose the future, our future. We're not bankrolled by billionaires, corporations, or dark money. We're backed by regular people like you, who won't sit back while the rich strip this country for parts. We need you to help us stay on the road to push back against the misinformation machine. Click the link in the description or head over to unfuckamericatour.com to donate, because nobody else is coming to fix this mess.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Of course, tomorrow, New Year's Eve. Yes, that's right. Leonard Cardinal will be filling in for me tomorrow, so you're not going to want to miss that. Obviously, we're taking Thursday off, New Year's Day. Going to the football game tomorrow, the Las Vegas Bowl. Going to a New Year's Eve party. And we'll be back Friday. That's right, I'm going to be back in the saddle on Friday, so have no worries. Brian will be here. So for the last couple days, we've been talking about this 42-minute Nick Shirley video that has hundreds of millions of views. Immediately when the video came out, I knew context of who Nick Shirley is. Nick Shirley is an idiot. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, I ran into Nick Shirley in Phoenix last week. He wouldn't answer any of my questions. He was a deer in headlights, and he's a very stupid person. I don't care if he's 22 or 10. Adam Mockler has an extremely high IQ, and he's the opposite end of the spectrum to Nick Shirley, who is a moron. So Nick Shirley put out Israeli propaganda. He took a trip to Israel earlier this year and made himself look like the fool that he is. But last year was mesmerizing to me because if you do a little research on who Nick Shirley is. So last year, the YouTuber, the right-wing grifting YouTuber, took a trip to Ukraine. Now, did he go to Ukraine to do stories on how so many people in Ukraine are struggling? how women are being raped in front of their children and murdered, children being bombed, thousands of innocent lives lost? Did he do a story about that? No. Not at all. You see, Nick Shirley put out a video in a wealthy area in Ukraine and took video of expensive cars and then made faces to make it look like everything was fine and dandy in Ukraine and we're wasting taxpayer dollars so Ukraine can win the war. Obviously despicable, disgusting. And then Nick Shirley was invited on a podcast show where the person who runs the podcast, who I think did a phenomenal job, who lives in Ukraine, questioned him on this. And I want you to listen to how stupid this guy Nick Shirley is. And he claims in this video, he claims that it was all just a joke. Have a listen to this.
Okay, so I spoke to your fixers and they said that they took you to Bucha, where there are mass graves. They said that they took you to a hospital that was bombed. Having seen all of that, why is it that you decided for your first report to be about the luxury of Kyiv and Americans' tax dollars being wasted?
That's a good question. Quite frankly, I'm still putting together a documentary I had. That was a clip I filmed just walking around while I was in Kyiv. And I do believe that here in the United States there's a lot of misconceptions as far as where tax dollars are being sent. And we have the right to understand where things are going. And that by posting a video like that doesn't make me a pro-Russian by any means. By every mean, I'm very pro-Ukrainian.
Well, you're saying there's a lot of misconceptions about where the American tax dollars are going. Do you think you're adding to those misconceptions by showing a few luxury cars in the capital of this country and then pulling silly faces? Do you think you're actually adding to that?
I do not, actually. I think a lot of the times and a lot of things that we do see in the United States, I think there are a lot of misconceptions that we see from the United States. And by putting a video like that is just showing people that as a war is still going on, people are still living a somewhat normal life there in Ukraine, and people have the right to see what's actually happening in Ukraine.
So why didn't you put that in the caption? Why did you just upload it with a caption saying this is where your tax dollars are going? Why didn't you add the context you're giving me now?
As far as what context?
Well, now you're basically telling me you uploaded that video because you wanted to show the world that life carries on as normal in Ukraine. But you didn't say that in the caption or the description of the video on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter that you uploaded. So why are you only giving me this context, and why didn't you include that in the tweets?
I have included that in the tweets as well. But in that first video I put, as you know how the internet works, a one-liner often goes a lot farther than paragraphs.
What? I tell you, this kid is dumber than I thought. Like, he struggles to even put sentences together. He's very slow, and I think he needs to go back to school. Notice, though, how he didn't really call it a joke or anything until this podcaster continued to press him. In this video that he put out, he has a smirk on his face, and he's showing luxury vehicles, making it seem like everything in Ukraine is just hunky-dory and fine. And then when the podcaster, who actually knows what's going on in Ukraine, pushes him, then all of a sudden he says the clip that he put out going to Ukraine was only a joke and satire. That's his excuse. Have a listen to this.
Well, I think what you were doing is to try and show that there maybe isn't a war in Ukraine. You were basically trying to ride this sort of Tim Pool grifter type wave, saying, pulling silly faces, smirking at the people of this country, saying, this is where your tax dollars are going. You cannot avoid that. That is literally what you did. Everybody agrees. Everybody in the comments agrees. That's what you were doing. Why can't you admit that?
Because I do not believe by making satire on the internet commits a crime by any means.
Okay, so this is a huge revelation. So you were actually doing satire
in that post.
So it was satire.
Is there anything wrong with satire?
Okay, so you're telling me now that this was a joke and it's satire and this wasn't your actual reporting. This wasn't you being a journalist.
What do you mean?
Well, you were being satirical, right? You were joking. You're saying that this tweet was satire. The original report that you put out on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter was satire.
That was the first video I put out, and if you continue to follow me and watch the videos that will be coming out, you will very much see.
No, I've seen the backtracking, but why didn't you make it clear that it was satire?
Isn't that very obvious that it's clear that it's satire?
No, because it's been
Especially-
retweeted and amplified by pro-Russian accounts that are very serious accounts, and actually it's.
I don't even know who the
bullshit.
accounts are.
This kid sounds dumber and dumber and dumber. He sounds like Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber. He's so stupid. First of all, if you're a serious journalist and you're supposed to be going over there to cover a story, satire is not serious journalism. And he's asked, and he's like, well, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean? It gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. This interview gets even worse, to the point of uncomfortability. It was just, it's just unbelievable how non-serious this kid is and what a right-wing grifter he is. Listen to this.
A second point. So 2 days ago, Romy Bank commented on your Instagram video saying, "Go east Ukraine. That's the real Ukraine. It's beautiful and wild, but being bombed." And you replied saying, "I visited East Ukraine as well. I will show you in the coming days." Where did you go in East Ukraine?
I went to, isn't Bucha East Ukraine? Or I went somewhere where there was Bucha.
So Bucha is a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv. Where did you go in East Ukraine?
That's where I went. I went to Bucha. Is that not east of Ukraine?
God, it makes me despair that you've come here, you don't even know the difference between East Ukraine and somewhere that's a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv, and you've put out content that's genuinely extremely damaging.
So the podcaster's correct. He doesn't even know where he was. He's putting out these videos. He thinks he was in East Ukraine, which, by the way, he wasn't, because he's such a buffoon. He's so stupid. But here's the part of the interview on this podcast. And again, I'm going to give the host of this podcast a tremendous amount of credit. I thought he did a really good job because this kid is so stupid. And then you wonder why the videos that he put out the other day ringed to not be true and completely disingenuous and filled with lies. This is proof, in a nutshell, in this one clip, of why Nick Shirley is a cuck who only cares about money, and he's a right-wing grifter. He admits in this podcast that he might have done some things in this clip that might have harmed people. He finally admits that it might have hurt people. He admits that it might have been misconstrued and some people might have not known that it was satire. He finally makes that admission. And then the podcaster asks him one very prevalent question: will you take it down from social media? Have a listen to this exchange.
Okay, well, it seems like all you documented since you came to this country is the nice area of Kyiv, the nice cars in Kyiv, and you've undermined the war. If you're genuinely sorry, you've just apologized for what you've done. You've also just said that it was satire and not real reporting.
That video was satire.
Yeah, okay, so why don't you delete that video? Because it's being misconstrued and it's being used by Russian propagandists. Why don't you delete it now? It's influencing hundreds of thousands of people all the time, putting people's lives in danger in this country.
If I were to delete it, it would... there's no point in deleting that video. The damage, if there has been damage, is already done.
Okay, well, at least you're acknowledging that the damage has been done and that it's been an incredibly damaging video. I know exactly what you were trying to do. You failed in doing it because you've received more backlash and more hate than support, and I guess now you're backpedaling.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I would say that. So Nick Shirley makes a self-admission that what he did in this video, mocking the people of Ukraine, diminishing. Can you imagine for a moment if you lost some family members, maybe you lost a kid or kids, maybe you lost your wife or husband because of this war, and you have this smug, at the time, 21-year-old YouTuber and right-wing grifter that goes to Ukraine and records a wealthy part of Ukraine with very expensive vehicles and making smirks and the insinuation that this is where our tax dollars are going and there's not really a war going on. And then when pressed upon it, he says it was just satire, as if it's funny what's going on in Ukraine. How would you feel? Put yourself in their shoes for a moment. That's who Nick Shirley is. He is a right-wing grifter. And then when he even admits in this podcast, because the podcast host was brilliant, he basically admits that he's done damage. He admits that there are people that did not see it as satire. He admits what he did caused harm. He's asked, will you now take it down? And he says, no, the damage has already been done. Folks, he's doing the same stuff in Minnesota. According to local legislature officials in Minnesota, In the video that he put out, 2 of those daycares in the video are closed. One closed a long time ago, and this ABC Learning Center closed last week. Why? Because they're on probation, because they've had some infractions, not when it comes to fraud, but when it comes to children endangerment, child endangerment, safety issues. The owner of that learning center did interviews with the media earlier this morning, confirming that they've been closed. They eventually will reopen because they didn't lose their license, and there is no fraud that is being committed. State regulators say they made visits to all these other child care facilities, and they haven't found any problems that warrant pausing payments to any of the centers, hence no fraud that was found. Nick Shirley asks about rates at some of these places, even though many of these services are subsidy-based. Now, what does that mean? It means families don't negotiate prices the way private customers would do. That confusion and the lies put forth by Nick Shirley was used as quote-unquote evidence that there's fraud being committed. He also went to some home healthcare companies with no patients showing up. No patients are showing up to these home healthcare companies because they're not supposed to show up. Nick Shirley has his lies in Israel and his propaganda. He has his lies in Ukraine. But he calls it satire. That's what he calls it. He calls it satire, ladies and gentlemen. Because Nick Shirley is a right-wing grifter and he doesn't care about fraud. He doesn't care about any of the issues he claims he cares about. All he cares about is making money off of YouTube, making money on social media, because Nick Shirley is a grifting piece of human garbage. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you'd like to be a part of the show, now's the time to do so. We had some great guests in hour number 1. We had Destiny joining us in the first segment. Brian Krasenstein joining us in the second segment of the program. And I am exposing more lies and propaganda from this guy, Nick Shirley. I have given you the facts. I put this out on social media 48 hours ago, and I was the one that was called the liar. I told you that this facility, the ABC Learning Center, was closed until further notice. I was called a liar. I told you that some of these other facilities that he went to were closed. I was called a liar. State regulators are saying, they've spoken to local members of the media, that they have not found any issues that would warrant pausing payments to any of these facilities as well. The number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-SAVE. And again, that number is 702-221-7283. That is the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. It's interesting because J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, Elon Musk, and some of the biggest names with the biggest platforms have been pushing this narrative. I believe one of the only reasons and one of the main reasons why they're pushing this narrative is because these are brown people. These are immigrants that happen to be brown people. Because I do believe J.D. Vance is a racist. I know that Elon Musk is a racist. He could take me off of X for saying that. Yes, I believe Elon Musk is a racist and a terrible father and a terrible human being. I would say the same thing about J.D. Vance. These are despicable human beings that want to continue to push the narrative. By the way, Joe Biden opened up investigations in 2022. That's right. The Joe Biden DOJ went in there. They made over 90 arrests. Some of those people are still behind bars. There's fraud going on in every city and every state in this country. Am I saying that's good? Am I saying we should allow those people and let them do what they're doing? Of course not. I'm against fraud in every way, shape, or form. But they're going after these Somalians because they happen to be brown people. And it is the same reason why J.D. Vance pushed the lie. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. This is their new eating the cats and eating the dogs. And Nick Shirley is right behind it because that's who these people are. It's not Make America Great Again. It's Make America White Again. And that's why they're doing this. It's the new, they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs. Somalian fraud in Minnesota. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. 702-221-SAVE is the number to call. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, as we put the number on the bottom of the screen, 702-221-SAVE. I believe the first caller we have up here is Scott. Scott, what's going on? Hey, Scott, are you there? Scott, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm sorry, I was listening on the radio instead of on my phone.
You're good.
So I got two things to discuss with you today because it's ironic that this topic is exactly where I'm at.
Yep.
So I gratefully get $1,200, a little under $1,200 in disability. My uncle sends me $300. So my rent was $650, and I was getting gratefully $24 in food stamps. So my landlord upped my rent to $800 this month, and I'm still getting $24 in food stamps. So that really pissed me off because I couldn't even get like $5 more. But the truth is, I'm not needy, and I'm grateful for what I get. But like, I would think I would get a little more that I'm paying rent. A little more rent.
Right.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you, Scott. Go right ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So I called my friend Beverly, who's a sick Trump supporter, and I vent at her, and I said, how is it that the rich get richer? So I told her how the tax breaks for the rich were made permanent and how, whatever. So she goes, well, did you hear about what happened in Minnesota? I mean, you like the daycare that's closed?
Right.
She said, well, no, this guy went around he was trying to put his kids in daycare. And so, all Somalis are frauds. And so I said, you know what a fraud and a thief is, right? Because you put one in the presidency.
That's true.
So needless to say, she got defensive, yelled at me, and hung up.
Of
because
course.
that's what they do. They don't want to. I said, I'm in recovery. I do 12-step meetings, and they tell us to look at our own issues.
Listen, Scott.
Not everybody else's.
Scott.
And they can't look at their own.
Listen,
That's all
Scott,
I wanted to say.
Scott, listen, I'll tell you, and I'm sorry she reacted that way, but I'm not surprised. Scott, when I went on social media the other day, and I had a few million views of some of the tweets that I put out about Nick Shirley, and by the way, they were true, and they were fact-based, okay? When I did that, you had a bunch of MAGA mushroom gobblers on social media and X, and I was laughing because I think it's hilarious because they're so easy to trigger. You know what I mean? Like all I have to do is present some facts, and then they call me homophobic slurs. They make fun of my physical appearance as if I care, what these MAGA mushroom gobblers think about my physical appearance. But they don't actually talk about the relevance of what I am saying. They don't want to address like what you did. You talked about, rightfully so, Donald Trump's fraud. Donald Trump supporting fraudsters, Donald Trump being a fraudster himself. And as soon as you present facts to these people and show their blatant hypocrisy, they result to ad hominem attacks. And they don't want to just admit, I've never heard, or very few times have I heard a MAGA supporter say, geez, you know what? I think you might be right on that one, Brian. I might have made a mistake on that. I think you're right. If I got a response like that, I would respect it. And I would say, okay, good. I'm glad that better late than ever, but I'm glad you're listening. And, that's great.
Well, yeah, my friend loves Benny Johnson. She loves all these idiots. Yeah, she's real sick. She reads the Bible, and I don't know where, whatever, I guess, keep your Bible. But, I want to say Happy New Year to everybody. If you're MAGA, I hope you don't have a worse New Year, but I hope you don't have a better one. But, anyway, let's have a good New Year's Eve. I'm going to be probably on the strip for the first time in like 20 years and celebrating my freedom.
Good.
So Happy New Year. And to Leonard, Mr. Cardinale, don't get it twisted. I love you, man.
All right.
If you're listening.
Thanks, Scott. Be safe.
Take it easy. Thanks for giving us a place to vent. And
Absolutely.
Darlene, the MAGA Slayer, and Jason, I love you guys too. So
thank you.
All right, have a good one. Thank you so much.
You too. I hope you have a great New Year. Be safe out there on the strip, and I appreciate it. Number to call if you want to be a part of the program is 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. So there's a lot that we've discussed here in the first 80 to 90 minutes of the show. Obviously, the fallout with Nick Shirley, it is crumbling, and their narrative is crumbling, literally hour by hour. State regulators have already said they visited all the sites where Nick Shirley went, and they have no evidence of any type of fraud that would warrant pausing payments. We've also learned a couple of those facilities have been closed, one for quite some time, and the ABC Learning Center was closed starting last week, not because of Nick Shirley's videos. So we have learned that. We've also learned of who Nick Shirley is. I already knew who he was, but I think people are finally starting to understand that he is a right-wing grifter, and he is not out for the truth. He's only out for clips. We've been talking about that. We've also been talking about Zelensky's trip to Florida to meet with Donald Trump. We had Destiny on the program. We had Brian Krasenstein on the program. And I would assume that Donald Trump is going to have a similar message like he did on Christmas, attacking the left on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because it is all that Donald Trump can do. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be resetting and taking a few more of your phone calls at 702-221-SAVE. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program, now's the time to do so. I understand some of my MAGA friends are a little bit scared to call in, but I'd be scared as well. 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Here's the deal. The country's a mess, and America's youth is stuck at the center of a tug-of-war between propaganda, billionaires, and political clowns who think TikTok is a national security threat, yet can't open their own email. But the real threat that keeps them up at night isn't TikTok. It's the power of the youth vote, and that's what the Unfuck America tour is after. We're traveling the country, hitting campuses and cities, exposing the right wing's playbook and calling out all the tricks they use to hook young people. We saw the youth vote shift in 2024, and if we don't reclaim that momentum now, we lose the future, our future. We're not bankrolled by billionaires, corporations, or dark money. We're backed by regular people like you, who won't sit back while the rich strip this country for parts. We need you to help us stay on the road to push back against the misinformation machine. Click the link in the description or head over to unfuckamericatour.com to donate, because nobody else is coming to fix this mess.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. Yes, it is Pushing the Limits. And for me, anyway, it's going to be my last show of 2025. And Leonard Cardinal is going to be filling in for me tomorrow. There's a lot that we've been talking about today. We had Destiny on the show. We also had Brian Krasenstein on the show today. Obviously, we're talking about Nick Shirley and the alleged fraud that's taking place in Minnesota. And it seems like the MAGA narrative is crumbling by the hour. As I mentioned, there are 2 daycares in this video that are closed. We're also learning one closed a long time ago, and now the infamous ABC Learning Center closed down last week. They still have their business license, but they're on probation. This guy, Nick Shirley's a right-wing grifter. I've made that evident and I've made that clear. Nick Shirley is a right-wing grifter just looking for clicks. This is what the MAGA right do. If you're brown, go after you, whether you're guilty or not. 702-221-7283, and then the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the show. I've made plenty of clips that went viral about Nick Shirley. Maybe I didn't get hundreds of millions of views like he did, but I'm not spreading propaganda and misinformation. If you're MAGA out there, please explain to me. Please, I'm all open ears. Explain to me what Nick Shirley uncovered. I'd love to hear. Let's go to Marcia. Marcia is next up on PTL. Hello, Marcia. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to phone basically to wish you a happy new year.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And I wanted to phone to wish all of America a happy new year. And to really be honest with you, I'm very disappointed with the way things have gone this year with Donald Trump and all these people that still want to see something good in this man. It's really disturbing. I watch Don Lemon. I watch Parker. I watch Dean Withers. I listen to their debates. I hear everything, and it's just so disturbing that anybody would still want to like this man. So in any case, I just want you to know I'm praying for all of America. Canada, I'm going to tell you, is praying for all of America. You will always be our family, and we will always wish the best for all of you. I'm so sorry for everything that you've gone through.
Well, that's very nice of you, and that's very kind of you to say. And I hope you have a wonderful New Year yourself. Hang in there, spend some time with family and friends, and do the things that make you happy. That's the advice that I always give people, my dear, okay?
Okay.
All right, you hang in there, and I appreciate you calling into the program. Thank you very much. This will be the last show of 2025 that I will be doing. And I hope everybody has a great New Year tomorrow. Leonard Cardinal is going to be filling in for me. This Nick Shirley, Minnesota story is going to fizzle out. You watch. He grifted. He made a lot of money. And please, anybody out there that's MAGA, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think Nick Shirley uncovered. I'd love to hear. Let's go to Coach Mo, friend of the show. Coach Mo, what's going on? How's it going?
Happy New Year, brother.
Happy New Year.
You hadn't called in for a while. Heard you on the radio. Thought I'd make one big comment, I guess. It's interesting that all the MAGA is so concerned with fraud in Minnesota, and they just overlook all the people convicted of fraud that he has pardoned so far. The Bitcoin guy, the lady here from Las Vegas that took $80,000.
Michelle Fiore,
the police fund.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and then the other thing is he also wiped their debt because they were supposed to pay back that money to the people they frauded.
Yep.
And that just goes away. But that's okay. You know, Trump's being Trump. But let's focus on Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, Philip Essenform, who the largest healthcare fraud scheme in the history of this country, $1.3 billion. Trump commuted his sentence. David Gento, $1.6 billion, commuted his sentence. Let's not forget about Trump University, where they had to pay out a $25 million settlement. I mean, the list goes on and on of the fraudster in chief himself, Donald Trump. But yet, I find it interesting. Now, all of a sudden, they care about some alleged fraud that might be going on in Minnesota, even though the Joe Biden administration and their DOJ opened up these investigations into fraud in Minnesota back in 2022, led by Garland, and they made over 90 arrests. Some of those people are still in jail. Business licenses have been revoked. But they don't want to talk about any about that. They want to talk about attacking these Somalians, attacking brown immigrants. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, and then when you say, listen, anybody that defrauded the government or some organization, they should be tried, and if convicted, should be punished. That's a given. Any of them. We don't care who they are. Also, anybody in the Epstein files that have done wrong, they should be punished, Democrat or Republican or whoever. But then the MAGA doesn't want to hear that.
Nope.
They say, well, what about this? What about that?
Well, let's be very clear. MAGA cannot spell the word fact. The Nick Shirley and these others that are putting these videos up there, the Candace Owens of the world, these are right-wing grifters. They only care about money and clicks. They don't care about the truth. They're willing to go against whatever values they might have. And these people are sick people. I've exposed Nick Shirley. I did it 2 days ago on social media, millions of views, and all the MAGAs are very upset at me for exposing what was the truth. I said 2 days ago that he went into some of these facilities that were closed. He didn't go during normal business hours, and that doesn't mean that there is fraud. And now we are learning that state regulators are telling local law enforcement that they made visits to all those places over the course of the last 24 hours, and they have yet to find any problems that would warrant pausing payments to any of these centers. Hence, Nick Shirley uncovered nothing. He is a right-wing grifter, and morons like Elon Musk, and I don't care how much money he has, or J.D. Vance, who happens to be the vice president. This is their new eating the cats, eating the dogs controversy. That's what this is.
What? Wait, I remember like 7 months ago, Doge was going to clean out everything and pay us money that was owed to us, and all what they just disappeared like poof.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like, they left like hundreds of thousands of jobs are fired, and people's lives are turned upside down, and they try to hire them back.
Hey, Mo.
No one. That was months ago, and it's like it never happened. It's just scary to me.
Mo, are you saying you didn't? Mo, are you saying you didn't get your $5,000 Doge check? Is that what you're claiming?
Yeah, and then I'm waiting for my $2,000 check, and then you know what? I'm driving around seeing where my $2 gasoline gallon is. So I'm still looking, but and I'm going to say this one more time, Brian. I said it almost a year ago. We are an oligarchy, and Trump is doing what Viktor Orban did in Hungary. Almost step by step, try to take out the universities, take over the media. Everybody's against us and we're against them. And he's just following it step by step. And it really scares me, the direction our country is going. But at the same time, you keep fighting the fight. And, hopefully 2026, hard for me to say because I'm turning 69 in a week, but hopefully it's a better year for us. But Brian, you're my brother. You keep doing work.
Thanks,
Keep doing
Mo.
your job, brother, and we appreciate you.
Thanks, Mo. I appreciate you as well, and to you and your wife, have a happy New Year, and I appreciate you calling, Mo. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
All right, you take care, Mo. Thank you. Number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. By the way, MAGA always welcome. MAGA always welcome. Please, I'd love to know, what did Nick Shirley uncover? Please, I'm begging to know. What fraud did Nick Shirley uncover? The only thing he uncovered is what a buffoon he is. That's the only thing that he uncovered. He shows up to a daycare center not during normal business hours, and then people wonder, why is a daycare center open 2 to 10 p.m.? Because it's an after-school program, you morons. Oh, by the way, it was closed. But Nick Shirley, either he didn't read the front posting on the front door, or he lied and he didn't want to show it. Oh yeah, one other thing. He asked about rates, even though many of these services are subsidy based, meaning families don't negotiate prices the way private customers do. That confusion was used by them as evidence that there's fraud being committed. Another lie. He also went to home healthcare companies. No patients show up at these home healthcare companies, but he made it sound like there was fraud. Imagine for a moment if a liberal YouTuber with a history of lies who supports an alleged pedo in office tried busting into daycares to film minor children. Imagine what the right would be saying about that. Just think about that for a moment. 702-221-SAVE. Again, that number if you want to be a part of the conversation. I'd love to hear from you, MAGA. I'd love to. Can you please tell me what Nick Shirley uncovered? What was the fraud that Nick Shirley uncovered? Let's go to Rhonda. Rhonda next on PTL. What's up, Rhonda?
What's up, Brian? Happy New Year, my
Happy
love.
New Year.
Happy New Year, my friend. I hate when they make you mad. I hate it, man. I be mad up here in Miami. I be mad. I'm not messing with you like that.
I'm laughing on the inside. Don't worry about it, Rhonda. I'll be okay.
I know. I just want to tell you thank you so much for navigating this year with me with this stupid politics stuff.
You got it.
You're the best. We love you. PT, I love you.
Thank you. Thank you, my dear. And I hope
you're welcome. Happy. You're very much happy. It makes me happy. And I thank you for just allowing me to vent, you know?
Of course.
Just allow me to vent. God bless you, sweetheart. Enjoy your year.
Thank you, my dear. I appreciate it. 702-221. Thank you. Bye-bye. I hope you have a wonderful New Year. 702-221-7283. And again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. 702-221-7283. Let's go to David. David is next on PTL. Hello, David.
Hey, Brian. Happy New Year. When you were talking to, was it Brian Krasenstein?
Yes.
When you were talking to him before and he was talking about, briefly when you asked him who do you think would be a good front runner and he mentioned Newsom for 2028, do you agree with that?
Right now, I think that would be the best option. He wouldn't be my number one pick, but logistically speaking, the best opportunity to defeat a J.D. Vance, yes, I think right now to beat J.D. Vance, yes, I do believe that right now would be the best option. That can change in 6 months. That can change in 3 months. That could change in a year. But if the elections were today, yes, I think that would be the Democrats' best option.
Well, why do you think that? Because, I mean, his national polling is pretty low.
Okay, well, Donald Trump's national polling is pretty low, and I know Donald Trump isn't running as a third term, even though there are some MAGA Republicans out there that think he can, which he won't. It'll most likely be J.D. Vance. But I believe among all the Democrats, I don't know what polls you're referring to, but I think most Democrats would agree with me, even though I'm not a Democrat. I would say most Democrats would agree with me that he gives the Democrats right now the best chance to win.
Well, Democrats probably would, sure. But, I mean, he would obviously need more than just their vote. And a lot of regular people who aren't Republican or Democrats, I mean, people understand, I think it's kind of known how bad California actually is for regular Americans. And Newsom's partially responsible for that.
Well, wouldn't you go by the same standard then of how bad America is right now and go by the same standard of J.D. Vance supporting Donald Trump in his Okay, so it goes both ways.
Well, let me just say this real quick. I do think Vance will be the front runner, and I don't think he'll get as many votes as Trump, just for what it's worth. But I do agree with you. I mean, he should be held to the same standard.
Yeah, well, that's
but I'm saying
that's
Newsom's
exactly
not
my
a
point.
very good candidate. I hope he runs because I think he would lose pretty handedly.
But I disagree with you. You say Gavin Newsom is not a great candidate, but you're a Trump supporter, so we also have to take that into account too. That you are biased, are you not?
Well, of course, I'm biased. Of course. But here's the thing: I dislike Newsom not because anything against him personally. It's just because I look at the state of California. I mean, look. Yeah, and the average price of a house in California is $800,000.
Yeah, do you know why?
Can you demonstrate how that's?
Yeah, do you know why? Because the higher
reasons.
Well, yes, there are plenty of reasons. First of all, there are certain places in this country where it's more expensive to live, and there's a lot of different factors that go into that. For example, where exactly you're living, the neighborhood, the weather. There's a lot of factors that go into it, and just because there's a higher demand to live in a certain area, well, if there's a higher demand to live in a certain area and homes are more expensive, that would probably be a good thing. There's a lot of people that enjoy living in California, but I understand that you're a Trump supporter, and that's fine. What has Donald Trump done that I know you want to criticize Gavin Newsom and you think he's a terrible candidate and he has no chance to win. By the way, I disagree with you 100%. What is Donald Trump, right now? When it comes to grocery prices, last I checked in the latest numbers that came out from the Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics, that the only thing that has gone down is eggs, and gas is slightly down, like 27 cents or something. I think the last numbers that came out. He said he was going to lower prices on day one. Did he lower prices on day one?
Look, he was wrong. I never thought he would lower prices.
So
I didn't vote for him thinking he could ever lower prices. And look, for what it's worth, I don't think any candidate can lower prices. This is by design. No candidate. So you don't think they don't have deep power to do that.
So explain to me then how everything was headed in the right direction as far as inflation wise and the economy.
Price wise, it wasn't.
Well, the unemployment rate was also at 4.1% when Joe Biden left office. What would you say about the unemployment rate now? Do you know what it is?
I don't know the exact number.
Yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give
it
it to you. Yeah, it's 4.6%. Actually, it was 4.7%.
Okay, so it's up 0.5%.
Yeah, which is pretty bad.
GDP just went up by over 4%.
And I understand the 1 month of good GDP growth.
Where was it significant?
1 month of good GDP growth is not. It's kind of like if you said, "Hey, 1 month inflation has gone down." It's significant if it continues to move in the right direction for the last 5 or 6 months. Do you think it's significant that inflation has gone up for the last 5 months, except for the last report? What would you say that's significant?
Well, gone up by how much?
So inflation has gone up gradually for the last 5 months. What I can tell you is that let me just give you some statistics here, and I talked about this yesterday.
That's just a simple number. I mean, if inflation's 2.9, 3.1, you can tell me the number, can you not?
I don't have the.
Gotcha. I'm asking you if you.
I don't think I don't
okay.
have the exact numbers in front of you, but what I'm saying is when inflation is rising month to month for the last 5 months, it's headed in the wrong direction. Now you admit that you didn't vote for him based on the lies that he said that he was going to lower everything. I would assume you also didn't vote for him when he said he was going to end the war in the Ukraine in 24 hours. You didn't vote for him for that either.
No, of course not. No one can end that war.
Okay, so then why did he lie?
Well, I don't think he lied. I think he believed he could do it.
So hold on, David. So this is interesting. Yeah. So you're telling me that you voted for a guy that believed all he had to do, his own words, pick up the phone and call Vladimir Putin and the war would be over. You voted for maybe the dumbest person in the history of the planet that ever was a politician. If you're claiming, you claim that he actually believed he can do that, which is insane. That makes Donald Trump an insane person. You voted for an insane person. You just said that you believe that he believed that. That makes him a moron.
Well, but here's the thing: the reasons that I voted for him were not primarily due to that. That particular war. I mean, same thing with the war in Israel and
No. I understand what you're saying. You didn't vote for him because he claimed he was going to end the war in 24 hours. But any logical person would say, if you believe what you just said, which is that Donald Trump believed he could just pick up the phone and end the war, then you voted for a complete imbecile. Can you agree with me that
in that context, he's a complete idiot? I agree.
So you voted for a complete idiot.
Because he does certain things that I support. I'm assuming you didn't support every single thing Kamala supported.
I don't think Kamala was an idiot. Kamala never said she could end the war in 24 hours. Kamala didn't lie every single day. Kamala isn't the person who's all over the Epstein files. Kamala isn't the person that's a felon and a liable abuser. Kamala had some things that she would have done. She wouldn't have done the tariffs, which the American consumer has had to pay for. I believe the economy would continue to be headed in the right direction, which it was when Joe Biden left office.
Not heading in the right direction.
Yes, it was. Unemployment.
How is inflation at 9% heading in the right direction?
Inflation was lowered month to month as Joe Biden was leaving office, and there's not one economist.
But that still means prices were going up. Do you know how inflation works?
I know exactly.
Prices weren't going up as fast as they were.
Exactly
but they were
how
still going up.
Works. I know exactly how inflation works. You just admitted to me that you voted for an idiot. Now let's talk about what Donald Trump has done, okay, that you're so happy with. You think he's done such a wonderful job.
No, I can give you a good example because it's the industry that I work in. I work in the transportation industry. And Trump has been nothing short of a miracle worker for the trucking industry. I can demonstrate how very easily because he had the DOT, Department of Transportation, crack down on a lot of people who were foreigners who couldn't speak English and couldn't read the proper road signs. And they had their CDLs revoked because they were dangerous on the road. And that freed up a lot of trucking market jobs and provided good wages for regular Americans.
What study do you show that's saying that if you don't speak proper English, that makes you a horrible driver or you're more likely?
That's not what I said.
Okay,
I said speak English and read the signs of the road because these people were proven by DOT, Department of Transportation, that they couldn't read the signs of the road and their licenses were revoked. Do you know how dangerous that is? And Trump cracked down on that.
So there's an issue because you believe there's a lot of people in this country that are driving that can't read a sign on the road.
It's not I believe, the DOT believes
it.
And they have plenty of evidence to support support.
So that's why you support Donald Trump, because apparently there are people on the road that can't read signs that are immigrants.
Not apparently. It's not apparently. It is a literal fact. The DOT cracked down on this. You can act like it's not a reality. This isn't my opinion. Thousands of people had their CDLs revoked because they were proven that they were very unsafe on the road. I noticed you don't have any counter to this. You're just saying that you're implying I'm wrong.
So throughout, so we're talking about immigration. Then what did he do with those people? He deported those people. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying he deported them.
What did he do with them?
He's not allowing them to drive trucks on the road because they were proven they can't do it safely.
So how many people in this country died because of these people that are driving trucks allegedly that can't read signs? Do you have that information?
No, because they weren't necessarily killing people on the road, but that's not
how many people. Okay, so hold on, hold on. I want to know. No, I want to stat how many accidents were in this country. No, okay. Well, let's take it a step further. Let's see if you know what you're talking about.
Sure.
How many accidents by these alleged truck drivers that can't read signs because allegedly they can't speak English? How many accidents did they cause in this country? Let's just go with this year or last year.
I don't. If you don't know for the exact data, I don't have.
Okay, you don't know. So when you're claiming that this is such a huge problem and you don't have any numbers to prove what you are claiming is such a huge issue,
I have some numbers I can tell you. I mean, the DOT said it was over 7,500 just in like 1 month of people. And that's just what they reported several months ago. It's probably
7,500 truck drivers that don't speak English, can't read signs, and they were all in car accidents in a year. Is that your claim, sir?
When did I say that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Do you understand my question? Do you understand my question and what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're asking me.
You're claiming you are claiming that this is such a big, dangerous problem in this country. I could give you statistics when I talk about gun violence. I can give you statistics when I talk about.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because we're talking about the extremes here. If you think something is dangerous, then give me the numbers of how many people were injured or killed from these alleged truck drivers that you claim.
That's not the correct metric. You're assuming that.
So what's the metric? The metric?
The metric is they can't read the signs on the road, so they can't properly drive a truck because they can't read the signs. Do you understand that?
And do you understand?
That has nothing to do.
And do you understand?
With them killing people.
And do you understand cause and effect? Meaning that if you think this is such a dangerous thing and it's so bad for society, then why don't you give me some numbers of how it's directly affected Americans and harmed Americans? The statistics that you don't want to bring up is per capita, an American is far more likely to commit a crime and a violent crime in this country and harm somebody like you or me.
What does that have to do with?
I'm telling you what it has to do. You're telling me that you voted for Donald Trump because you found this figure that says that truck drivers that can't speak proper English, that I would imagine are immigrants, are dangerous on the road because they can't read signs.
Can't read the signs.
Right. That's
road.
what
Why
I
do you
just.
keep leaving
That's
that out?
what I just said. If you would stop interrupting me. So based on that theory that you're claiming, that you claim there's
not a theory.
Okay.
The
Then
DOT,
what I want to know.
opinion.
Then what I want to know, since this is such an important issue to you, which is
Well,
a very fair question, which I am asking you, which you refuse to answer. How many Americans?
No, you're right. I'll answer it.
How many Americans were directly impacted by this?
Well, define directly impacted. What do you mean exactly?
If you can't read a sign on the road, you're claiming they can't drive. How many car accidents? That's a very logical question that you still haven't answered.
No, I just told you I don't know those numbers, but that's not.
Hold on.
The only metric.
Let's backtrack.
Let's
backtrack. Nope. What I am focused on is how people are harming other people. For example, if you're a drunk driver, there are statistics that show how many innocent people lose their lives tragically, or how many car accidents happen in this country per a drunk driver. By the way, most of those drunk drivers. Hold on.
Let me just ask.
I will let you. I will allow you to ask a question. Just let me to finish, please, David.
Sure.
So, what I am interested in is how many people are directly affected by what you're saying. If you think this is such an awful thing, and the claim is that they can't read signs because they don't speak English, and there are a lot of bad drivers out there that are undocumented immigrants or documented immigrants, whatever the case may be, then what I want is proof. Not just, well, he can't speak English and he can't read signs. I want to know what infractions they've committed. And I want to know
literally the proof.
Okay.
Do you
No.
understand how that works?
No. See, you're making a claim. that it's really
It's
bad.
not a claim. It's
no,
DOT. It's not my opinion.
No.
The Department of Transportation
The claim
laid out these numbers.
The claim is that this is important to you because you think it's very dangerous, right? You think this is a very dangerous thing, right? For Americans, when you make the case that there are a lot of people allegedly on the road that are truck drivers that don't speak English and they can't read a road sign. So in that theory, what I want to know is how many Americans in this country have been directly affected. It's just like transgenders or anything else. You guys have your issues when it comes to, that's bad and this is
I'll
bad.
answer the question.
Tell me.
Let's just say it's 0 for sake of argument. Does that somehow mean it's okay for them to be on the road when they can't read the signs?
No, I'll tell you what it means. It means that you voted for a guy and put everything off to the side because you think this is such a huge problem, even though it affected 0 Americans, which would make you an imbecile.
Brian, do you actually think that this has no impact on people?
Then tell me what
people driving?
Then tell me what it is. Stop saying there's an impact and you don't have any statistics that back up your opinion that this is such a horrible thing.
I don't have that exact number.
Then
Now,
how could you make a claim that this is such a? How could you make a claim that this is so dangerous and you have no statistics to back up your opinion?
Well, let me
and you're willing.
Hold on.
You're willing to put everything aside with Donald Trump. You're willing to put aside you admitted that he's an idiot because he thought he could end the war in 24 hours. We've talked about the economy.
Correct.
We've talked about the sexcapades of Donald Trump. We've talked about the liable abuse, the 34-count felonies. We've talked about the tariffs. We've talked about the damage he's doing to this country or the statements that he makes, for example, about Rob Reiner. And you're willing to put hold on. You're willing to put
that I thought that he did, and I'm telling you what he did.
I understand, David, but you're willing to put all that stuff off to the side because of this issue, yet you don't have any statistics in front of you. Yet you don't have any statistics in front of you directly showing how it affects Americans. That is insane, David.
That's not insane. So I just want to be clear. This is not my opinion. This is what DOT did, and you are saying that they're wrong for doing this. Is that
what I am saying? Is that you are wrong in making the case that you think this is such a danger to society when you can't give me one example.
So you're telling me that this is not dangerous when people are on the road and they can't read signs.
You're the one.
DOT regulation.
Okay,
you're telling me.
No,
that
here's what I'm telling you.
Issue.
Here's what I'm telling you, David. Okay, here's what I'm.
Well, is it an issue? Yes or no,
David? Here's the way I'm going to answer that question. Okay, and I appreciate the phone call. When I say that gun violence is a major issue and tens of thousands of Americans are dying every year because of gun violence, I provide you statistics. You guys complain about drag queens, and I say, can you name me a drag queen reading where a child was injured or lost their life because of drag queen? I can't come up with that statistic. Same thing here. You voted for Donald Trump because you think there are so many truck drivers out there that don't speak English and they can't read signs, and it's very dangerous to Americans. That's the hypothesis that you're putting forward. Where are the numbers and the evidence that these immigrants that don't speak English and apparently don't know how to drive have caused all these accidents? You don't have the numbers, and then you say, Brian, you're being unreasonable. How can you say this isn't an issue? Okay, if it's an issue, then give me the numbers, David. Holy smokes. Am I not making sense? Oh my God. It's just like the transgender stuff. Oh, the transgenders are so bad. Drag queen reading is so bad. Okay, then can you give me an example of a child that was harmed? Not off the top of my head. No. It's so terrible with all these Democrats that are celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk, all these elected officials. Can you name me one elected official? Not off the top of my head. David, if you're going to call into the show and you're going to claim this is such a huge issue, then maybe you should have some numbers handy with you, because I can give you the numbers of legal American citizens that can speak English just fine that kill Americans on the roads every single day. And they're not truck drivers that allegedly can't speak English. They're people that sound like you, and they're people that look like you. Democrat MAGA is next up on PTL. Hello, Democrat MAGA. Democrat MAGA, go right ahead.
Yes, it's me, the number one caller since 1974, checking in to try to save the show again. So anyway, I saw on CNN.
Why do you say you need to save the show, David? The show's doing just fine with or without you. But go ahead. It's a weird statement, but go ahead.
With me, everyone stops what they're doing. I know. I saw the Arbitron ratings; they spike.
What?
Anyway,
okay, you're trying to be funny, David. Yeah. We don't even do Arbitron ratings here. But go ahead.
It's not who's David?
Go ahead, Democrat MAGA, whatever your name is.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
Anyway, did you see on CNN last week? It was about a week ago. They had Cory Booker on, and it was fascinating. They were interviewing him, and they hit him with a the polling. The lowest in the history of polling, Democrat message and Democrats are polling at 17%.
Oh,
and one of the reasons why is because they're very weak and feckless. Can you name me 3 alpha males in the Democratic Party I can get behind? Is it
do you think Donald
Admiral
Trump?
Rachel Levine? Is Admiral
Okay,
Rachel
so
Levine,
hold on. I'll answer your
Give me an
question.
alpha.
Sure. I'll give you an alpha male, the guy that you voted for, right? This is a real alpha male. The guy that wakes up in the morning and puts on 8 layers of orange makeup.
That's not the question.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna ask
Excuse
you
me.
again.
Excuse me.
I'm going to ask you
No.
for a third
There's a
time.
reason why I'm bringing that up. And by the way, I could name you somebody by the name of General Kelly, somebody who served this country honorably, who went to war so idiots like you could call into the show and make your stupid statements. The guy risked his life for this country. Seth Moulton, who is a Purple Heart recipient, who is an elected official, who's a congressman out of Massachusetts, who received multiple medals, who was injured fighting so that people like you, idiots like you, Excuse me, I'm not done answering your stupid question. But you see, here's the reason why I brought up Donald Trump. The reason why I brought up Donald Trump is because idiots like you want to talk about alpha males. Are alpha males the type of people, men, the type of people who dodge the military multiple times? Are alpha males?
Well, that's not it.
No. Excuse me. What are Donald Trump's? Okay, you want to talk about poll numbers? What are Donald Trump's poll numbers right now? You right-wing buffoon.
It's 30 something.
Yeah. It's no. Nope. Let's talk about.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Okay. Be quiet. Be quiet for a moment. A year ago, who had higher poll numbers for the presidency, Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
Who cares?
Oh, who cares? Pat him down. So all of a sudden, the poll numbers don't care if it doesn't fit your stupid narrative. Let me tell you something. People like Seth Moulton and people like General Kelly and people like Mark Kelly, who served this country honorably, they are war heroes. Donald Trump doesn't have any bone in his body that has the courage and the backbone that these individuals have. You want to talk about real alpha males? Alpha males, I'm sorry, are people that serve this country honorably, that risk everything and put it on the line. Donald Trump has never risked anything in his life, anything at all, or fought for anything but himself. So how dare you call into this show, Democrat MAGA or whatever the hell your name is, and embarrass yourself once again and ask me a stupid question. Let me tell you something. The bravest people in this country are the ones that serve this country honorably. I named you several of them. I'll even say somebody like AOC. Nobody gave her anything in her life. She had to work for it.
That's the alpha dog of your party.
Excuse me. The alpha dog of your party is the guy that was given a $500 million company from his father and multiple businesses he filed for bankruptcy. The guy that puts on 8 layers of orange makeup, who is morbidly obese and might be. And I'm just telling you. Donald Trump has some of the worst. Donald Trump, I don't know what poll you're referring to, but I think you have 17 brain cells, okay? That's what you have. You want to call in and you want to talk to me about alpha male, and you voted for the liable abuser and the 34-count draft-dodging coward felon, and you want to talk to me about what an alpha male is? You think an alpha male is the guy that can barely swing a golf club, who wears makeup every day looking like the clown that he is, the guy who dodged the military and claimed he had bone spurs, who's never been in a physical altercation in his life, who has had yes men and yes women around him. You think, excuse me, Joe Biden, okay, let's talk a little bit about that for a moment. By the way,
Joe Biden in the military.
Okay, so now we're moving the goalpost a little bit. Okay, let's move the goalpost and let's talk. I'm happy to talk about Joe Biden with you. At least Joe Biden had the courage to get on a bike. Donald Trump can't even swing a golf club because he's so morbidly obese. Let me ask you a question. Are alpha males afraid to take their shirt off? Answer the question, please. Joe Biden took his shirt off plenty of times in public when he was on the beach. Can you tell me the last time Donald Trump took his shirt off?
Oh, my God, relax.
Tell me. No. Democrat MAGA, do you think you're an alpha male if you have 4 hair transplants, fake teeth, and a fake tan, and you haven't taken your shirt off for 50 years? Would you call that an alpha male, somebody who's morbidly obese?
I'm just
That's
asking
probably,
you
and I'm
alpha
just
male.
asking,
That's all-
is that an alpha male? Yes or no?
Trump.
No.
What
Answer
about
the question. Is that an alpha male? Is Donald Trump an alpha male? He's the
Tell
leader of
me
the.
first tell
Answer
me
the
the one from the
question.
Democrats like
Answer the
original.
question. I'm going to ask it one more
I'm
time
gonna
or the
ask you for a
conversation
third
is
time.
over. I'm going to ask you for a last time. Otherwise, the conversation is over because I'm an alpha male and you're not. And you call in with your little Trump fingers and you probably look like Donald Trump. You're probably morbidly obese. You probably have 5 hair transplants. You probably dodged the military. You probably have fake teeth and you probably have to pay for sex. Do alpha males pay for sex? Donald Trump spent 12 seconds with Stormy Daniels and it cost him $10,000 a second. And then he paid her for the story to go away. Do alpha males have to pay for sex? Yes or no, dummy? Get the hell off my show. You're a waste of my time. Cat got your tongue? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the best call for me to end 2025. 2 back-to-back calls from Trump mushroom. That's what they are. The Trump mushroom gobblers at it again. So everybody, check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. I'm actually about to do an interview on OAN. That should be interesting. Speaking of Trump mushroom gobblers, Leonard Cardinal is going to be filling in for me tomorrow. We'll be back live on Friday. So check out my website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live, where you can make donations, especially during the holidays. We appreciate it. You're supporting independent media. You'll see a little icon button there that says donate. It's pushingthelimits.live. We appreciate you guys. This will be my last show of 2025. Leonard will be filling in for me tomorrow, and we will see you guys live, or I will see you guys live on Friday. Hope everybody has a great new year. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie?